Not at all. Not at all. Go for it. Hi, this is the Maverick artist Victor Hugo reporting modern art gonzo journalism for the modern art music movement. It is, let's see, it is June 24th, 2024, reporting from the former Soviet Union, Republic of Georgia, near the border with Russia, Turkey, Armenia, and Azerbaijan. My job is not to be politically correct. It is to witness, observe, analyze, and document the beautiful chaos that surrounds us all, so that future generations can understand how we got to this incredible moment in time, where I am joined by Alan Main once again. He was a guest a few months ago, and he had a lot of people leaving a lot of interesting comments in the comment section because of the fact that he was talking about spellcasting and the written word and the Bible and all sorts of topics that, well, people are afraid to talk about. But that's what we do on this show. We have an open mind and we're open to ideas. And the whole thing about this show is not so much to lambast what the guests say, but rather to use it as a foray into investigating whether they are right or not. And if they're wrong, to point it out in the comment section, but in a respectful manner. And so that's what this is about. This is about just having an open mind. So Alan, thanks again for joining us on the Modern Art Music Movement podcast. Today, what would you like to go into? The platform is yours. So,
thank you very much, Victor. It's a real pleasure to be back again. And I'm excited that people actually had comments in regards to what I had to say, whether it was good or bad. At least they were watching. Anyways, I just want to ask, I noticed that I was watching a video with Alex Jones with Dr. David Martin. And I think Alex is kind of a shill. I think he's controlled opposition. I've felt that all the years that he's done it. But when he does this quite frequently, and I think it's what they use to throw people off, is that he interrupted Dr. David Martin during while he was trying to lay things out after he said that the floor is yours, and then he's halfway through a conversation and he cuts him off. And then you could see that Dr. David had to rethink what he was saying to get back onto that track. So I know you, Victor, you're really good at keeping people, you're good at not saying much while people are talking. But sometimes with the Skype, we talk over each other, it gets cut out.
Yes, so, sometimes if it seems that way, it's because we are talking from across the world. You are in Canada. I am right near the border with Russia. So sometimes it's not something intentional. It's just the technology, which we are blessed to be having right now, because it's amazing that we're able to communicate the way that we are during this information war. I want to ask you, there's a lot of people, including myself, who, although I have tremendous respect for Alex Jones because he has opened my mind to several different things, but I do see him, as Dustin Nemos says, the never Jew, never naming the Jews. He's always blaming the situation that is current in this world, which is very drastic and very dangerous. He blames it on the Chi-Coms. He blames it on the deep state. Sean from SGT, who I also respect, he is always blaming it on the Zionists. But people are afraid to name the Jew. My show is banned and censored, even in the United States, I'm finding out from commenters in the United States, in Missouri, in New Hampshire, and in Delaware, and in Holland and other countries. They have to use a VPN because my channel is banned and blocked. And I was surprised to find out that it's even banned and blocked in the United States of America. And I think that's because the ADL and APAC are essentially controlling the United States of Israel, as I call it. And I think most of the United Slaves of America are unaware of this. And that's why they're so ignorant to the real problem, which in my opinion is the Jewish problem. And I just had a podcast with the Jewish gentleman who I tell people it's not that I'm saying that it's all the Jews, but until we are able to name the Jewish problem and talk about it, we're not even able to talk about it right now. So I have Jews on my show. So I'm an artist. I don't paint with the broad brush. Sometimes you need to make the fine detail there. But I'm naming the Jew. And if we can't even name the Jew, then we've got a problem because we can't even identify the problem. And that's the point that I'm making. And I know that I'm hovering over the target because this show is banned and censored. So I want you on, and I just want you to speak whatever you want. I don't care if you talk about whatever. This is an open platform for you.
All right. Well, I'll tell you this much. We're going to get into the wedges.
The wedges? Because, you can say Jew. Don't worry.
Well, no, I do say Jew, but the reason I'm using the word wedge is I want people to wake the hell up when I use that word. The Jews are very famous at reversing everything. Everything's a fucking reversal.
Version, yes, yes.
Right? So when you take Jew and spell it backwards, it's wedge. And what do? They put a wedge in marriage. They put a wedge in abortion. They put a wedge in politics. They put a wedge in finances. They put a wedge in education. There are wedges. They put a fucking wedge in everything, and they gotta stop. I'm sorry, I got a little excited there.
That's okay. You're welcome to get excited. I'm glad to see somebody excited. I wish more of the people in the United States of America and in Canada would get more excited because they seem to be sitting on their hands just waiting for either Trump or the trusting the plan, or they're waiting for somebody else to do something when really nobody's coming to save you. They're trying to kill you.
Can I give you an example of how cognitively dissident people are?
Yes.
I've been doing this for fucking 35 years. I have no friends because of it. My whole life has been turned upside down because of it. Most of my family don't talk to me because of it. And yesterday, I blew another one of my family members away, my younger brother. And I'm the person I am. He knows who I am. I talk the way I talk. And he went ballistic on me yesterday because I was talking about these very issues. And I happened to mention something to him about, because he was married to a girl that I believe in her bloodline, it has some Habsburg. Now, the only reason I say that is because I was studying the Habsburgs, and they got this jaw that shoots out. And it was due to supposedly too much interbreeding.
Yeah.
And anyways, they claim that this is a Habsburg thing, right? It comes out from the Habsburgs. Well, my nephew, he has that. And he had his jaw broken and reset and everything. But he looks just like the Habsburg jaw. So I just mentioned to my brother that, maybe they have Habsburg blood. Well, he fucking went ballistic on me.
Can you explain to the audience why he would go ballistic and explain for those who don't know the Habsburgs?
Well, first of all, I don't think it was the Habsburgs so much as I'm always telling them it's the Jews. I'm always telling them what's happening in the world. I'm not a person that sits there and talks about sports, music, and all the stupid fucking shit that we all got our brains trapped into today. So we sit back and do nothing. And it's all spellcasting, and I'm going to explain this verbatim. And if you don't get it, then there's nothing I can do about it.
But let's talk about the Habsburgs. Give me a little bit of history on the Habsburgs.
Well, all I know from what I could yield out of the Habsburg is that there were a royal family that went around and fucked all the royal families to get their children in to the top positions of royalty. So it was their way, the Jews' way of infiltrating all the royals back in those days. And eventually their kids grow up and they become the leaders. And then they are able to put across their spellcasting of all the shit that they want to change the world to be.
And were they from Germany?
They were from Russia.
Oh, they were from Russia.
Yeah.
Okay. So they were around during the Bolshevik time?
Yes. Well, actually, I think it was well before Bolsheviks that the Habsburgs were. We're
Okay.
talking probably 1500s, somewhere in there, 1600s.
Yeah, that would definitely be before then.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Well, there's a lot of friggin' history out there and a lot of bullshit. Now,
Yeah.
Victor, I'm going to
What?
say something.
Hold on before we move on, because I just proved my ignorance with the Habsburgs. What brought you to the attention of the Habsburgs that made you look into them? Because that's going back pretty far back, and that's consequential.
Well, it's all my studies. Like I study everything. I study the good, the bad, and the ugly. I will read some really boring shit to be able to understand exactly what's going on in this world, because there's so much disinformation on the true information. Like the Jews, for instance, they own the media, they own um, the acting guild, so on and so forth, and they do everything in reverse. So in the media, they give us what they say is truth, but is actually false. And in the movies, they give us what they say is fiction, but is actually truth.
That's interesting. You're absolutely right.
Okay?
That's true.
So
Yes.
it's a switch, it's the old bait and switch crap. And because of spellcasting, now I want to say something here. I'm going to say something that I want you and everybody listening to just put in their brain and think about. Okay? Now, have you or anybody out there played telephone?
Yes.
Okay. Now I'm going to explain for anybody who doesn't know what telephone is. Telephone is where you take it's usually about 7 to 8 words, and you speak it into the ear of somebody, and then they repeat that to the next person all the way around the table until it gets back to you. And then we all laugh because on how much it was screwed up. Okay? Now, this is a very important thing that we have to keep in our minds at all times when we're reading anything or listening to anybody. Okay? Did you know that 100% of the time, on average, because you'd have to test everybody in the world to get 100% whether it was that or not, because we do have people who have photographic memories. So, of course, it wouldn't be 100% if we did the whole fucking world. But in the studies, 100% of the time, the first person got it wrong.
Oh, really?
So now the first person got it wrong on a 7 to 8 word thing. Now we're led to believe all these books out here are truths and this, that, and the other. But did that person hear properly what that person said to write it down? Because if you look at most things out there, it's all secondhand news. It's not too much from the original, right? So a person has to wonder, are they getting it right when in the game telephone, the very first person screws up, right? So now let's go into a sentence, 12 words. Let's go into a paragraph. Let's go into a page. Let's go into 2 pages. Let's go into 10 pages. Now, how much of that do you think, oh, I listened to his sermon and I wrote it down, right? Or you pretty well have to be able to record somebody to be able to write down word for word what they're saying and to get the inflections that are there. Like, is he mad? Is he happy? Is he sad? What is coming with those words? Because like a perfect example would be when you're texting your girlfriend. This is something that I had a problem with back in the day, texting my girlfriend, and she would take wrong what I said because we're texting as we would say it. But they don't see that. They don't get the inflections. They don't get you could have been joking, but she takes it seriously. All of a sudden, you got a fucking fight on your hands because. And I've gone through this. I don't know how many times with this lady that I was with.
Yeah, we can relate to that as men. Yes.
So all I can say is that most everything is secondhand. And if that person secondhand gets it wrong, then you are not getting the truth.
So let's put that in relation to the Bible. I have a lot of people in the comments section when I do interviews with Dustin Nemos. They say that he takes the Bible literally and that they don't take him seriously because he takes the Bible literally. So what do you have to say about that?
Well, there's a lot of problems in the Bible. And he also uses the book of Enoch. Now, the book of Enoch is kind of contradictory to the Bible. So if he keeps using Enoch to prove his point on the Bible, it kind of throws me off, because the book of Enoch definitely does not verify the Bible. And then people say, well, because we're finding out the earth is flat, and the Bible says the earth is flat, it's real. Well, just a sec. The Hindu teach the world is flat. The Muslims teach the world is flat. There's many religions that teach the world is flat. In the Middle East, they have never grabbed onto the ball in a lot of places. So, you know, to say that this proves the Bible to be true, no, it proves the Bible has some truth in it. But that doesn't, you see, if I'm going to sell something to somebody and want them to believe it, I've got to have something there that speaks to the heart, or otherwise they are not going to get it. They won't receive it. And when we, as Christians, we always use those specific sayings that were attributed to whoever to bring people into the fold. But there's a big book there. It's a very big book, right? And it says Holy Bible. Have you ever looked up the term hole? When you have holes in your bucket, what happens? It's full of holes, right? The water drains out. It doesn't hold water, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but the Holy Bible means something different than whole, H-O-L.
Yeah, well, they can twist words all they freaking well want, but it says what it says. But anyways, regardless of that, I want to try to keep on what is said as opposed to what I assume. Okay.
About what? About the Bible or about anything?
Yeah, because I can give you all my thoughts on it, but that doesn't mean a fucking thing. So it actually has to do with what's being said. Now, I want to just ask Dustin and all the Christians, how many problems in the word are necessary before you say, what's wrong here? Now, if all the word, according to Christians, is an inspired word of God. Okay, well, if you read the book of Revelations at the very back, what does it say? It says that anybody who adds to this book or takes from, I shall add the plagues and take his name from the book of life. Well, that means that book can be added to and taken from. So, but yet Christians think that, oh no, God's going to keep his word. Okay, if he's going to keep his word, then why do we have King James, Authorized King James, New King James, the American Standard, we got the Gideon, we got the Tinsdale, blah, 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 blah. We can go on and on and on about Bibles. Who's got it right? Because all of them say things different in them. So what words am I going to take as truth as opposed to the words that are false, right? So first of all, I want to get into the spellcasting thing, and then I'll get into the Bible thing. Is there anything you want to say before I get going there?
Yeah, is that the argument? And I notice that's the argument that people make with Dustin Nemos. He's one of the most controversial guests that I've had on my show, along with Flat Earth Dave. I've really started getting a lot of attacks on social media because I've had those two guests on my show. So it's something about what they say about Flat Earth and about the Bible that really incites people to hatred. I don't understand why those two particular topics, the Bible and Flat Earth, are so incendiary. I mean,
Well,
we're in a world where there's the Jeffrey Epstein flight log list, where the Jews are creating chaos all over the world. But rather than focusing on those real problems, they're focused on the interpretation of the Bible and whether or not the earth is flat. I mean, what difference does it make?
Well, one of the things that the flat earth is doing is it's waking people up to there's a friggin' creator. Somebody made this place. Somebody made us. Somebody made this. Anybody who says there is no creator is a bloody fool. You can't look around and say that this just happened by chance. And if you did, you're an idiot and you've got a very low IQ. I mean, your eyes, well, what? Your eyes are deceiving you?
Is that what you call the atheists? The ones who believe in a creator? A bloody
and
fool.
that's another thing. Dustin said he was an atheist before he became a Christian. That bothered me because he didn't think there was a creator at all. And yet he can look around and not see that there was a creator. Now, the biggest problem with the word creator is that as soon as you mention it, what comes to mind? Well, all the religions of the world. Well, did anybody ever venture to think that maybe that all the religions were wrong, but there is a creator and maybe we're being flamboozled on what that really is?
Who is bamboozling us?
The Jews.
And why would the Jews want to bamboozle us when it
Because
comes
they want the world to themselves. They believe. Now I don't believe this is a bloodline thing. I believe it's brainwashing. And it's done from an infant up. And because there is a few Jews out there that have stepped away, understanding that there's some problems. But then I really don't trust Jews because I know they're taught to lie to us and to befriend us so they can pass their thing. That's the Jesuit order. That's the Jesuits are trained to become engineers, preachers, priests, ministers, anything that they can become at the top to infiltrate and push their agenda and slowly over time change things with their words. And as you repeat something over and over again to people, it solidifies and they become believing it, like climate change and all that stuff. Like people who believe in climate change, they don't go out there and look at all the other scientists that are saying the opposite and looking at all the work that each one puts out. And when you do that, you will see the truth because it's very important. You don't keep yourself in the Bible because you're going to be kept in that narrow ideology. And maybe there's some problems there that you don't realize because you're not venturing out. Now, if you use the word, play that game telephone in your head every time you hear somebody speak or write something down, you won't be so spellcasted by what is being said because you're immediately going to put it in three categories, either into the garbage category, the possibility category, or the facts category. If I'm not sure of something and I don't have full, if you can't prove it to me, if there's nothing there to substantiate it, then I'm going to put it in my possibility. Right? Now, of course, here's the perfect example of one keeping the possibility. I knew 98% that George Bush Sr. was Illuminati, but I wasn't absolutely sure. But I'm sitting there watching TV, and he comes on, ironically, at midnight, not during the day, but at midnight, where most people don't hear what it said, talking about bringing together his new world order. And then he said, by 1,000 points of light. Well, right there, verified 100% that he was an Illuminist, right? So it went from my possibility to fact, right? So whenever I talk about possibilities, I say it in such a way that, well, this is possible, right? But I haven't totally verified that this is true.
Yeah, Alan, how do you deal with just the plain old stupid. For example, every time that I take a sip from this cup that I just happened to pick up because I need a cup for my coffee, because of this
wink,
I am now labeled every time I take a sip as giving a shout out or some kind of a signal to the Illuminati out there. I've also, because I've had on the shows that I did with Stu Peters and SGT Report and with Dustin, I wear as a prop sometimes the Jewish yarmulke. So now I've been labeled by people who are trying, interestingly enough, they're Jews who are disguising themselves as Christians, because just like you're saying with the deception and the inversion. So here's a person whose mother is a Jew, self-admittedly is a 50% Jew, although if he comes out of a Jewish home, that makes him 100% Jew. But this person is claiming that I am now a quadruple CIA Mossad agent. And that I am a Jew.
Good job there, Mossad.
And that I'm a Jew. So it's like, wait a minute. I was born, raised Christian, baptized, did my confession and communion. And whether Jesus is true or not, I try to live by the golden rule, and I believe in do unto others as you would have done unto yourself. I'm not a perfect person. I'm a sinner, absolutely. I have my faults, but I'm definitely not a Jew. And I am an actor, and I've played the role of detectives, police officers, and serial killers. But just because I wear a Superman cape doesn't mean I can leap tall buildings in a single bound and fly around, you know? But the problem is that there's such a level of stupid, and there's such a level of people who don't know what to believe in this information war, that these false prophets that are out there who have their subscribers on their alternative media channel now have people actually believing that I am a quadruple CIA, Mossad, Illuminati Jew. So I don't know. There comes a point where you just have to let it go. You know?
Yeah, you just let it run off your back like water on a duck. You know what I mean?
There's like so getting back to the creator. Does the creator create this level of stupid for fun? Like if we're living in a matrix and there's a video game and you have your non-player characters, you create a character who has like one bad eye, a runny nose, a limp, and gingivitis just for the heck of it, to see what happens when he runs into people on the street for laughs? Or do you create this level of stupid on purpose? Like, what's the purpose of having stupid if we have a creator? Why would God create such stupidity?
Well, we have a brain and we have a heart. And our brain and heart kind of confunk together. Now, a brain is just a storage thing. It's not your feelings, your emotions. That comes from the heart.
Really? You believe that?
Yeah, I know it.
Or is that just also something made up by the Jews? Because
I don't know. Honestly, I'm not a scientist, so I don't really know. I just know that there's kind of a difference between my heart and my brain. My brain has a way of just using things, where my heart has a way of using things with emotion.
See, now this is where I respectfully disagree with you.
Well, maybe I'm wrong.
I'm not a scientist either. I'm just sharing my opinion with you. So don't take it the wrong way. I see the heart as what pumps the blood through our body to keep us alive. I see the brain as what allows us to perceive things, not only with emotion, but with critical thinking, and keeps everything like our sight and our hearing and our sense of smell. But I just see the heart as the pump, as the engine.
I would think that too, but when I've looked into the amount of people that have received other people's hearts, and they start acting like the person that they got the heart from, and
really, I did not know that
stuff. Yeah, it's quite connected. There's I can't say the word properly. Endorphins that I think it is that go from the heart to the brain, and they kind of function together.
Wow,
Anyways, it's all very technical, and I shouldn't get into something I really don't know a hell of a lot about.
Well, hold on a second. the Vice President Dick Cheney had the heart of, I think, a guy who died in a motorcycle crash, and he was like 25 years old or something, put into his body. Dick Cheney was one of the most evil people that ever existed. And has that changed him? He still seems like a real rotten son of a bitch.
Yeah, I guess it depends on whose heart he got. Because now I want people to understand that organ donating can only be done by a live body. The body has to have blood flowing through each organ. I think you got like 75 minutes for a kidney, which is the longest organ that can be without blood going through it, from what I understand. Now, I'm not a doctor and blah, 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 right? But, I study a lot and I read doctors' stuff, right? So, because of this very reason, now I just lost control of what I just said.
We're talking about something that's very interesting that I've never talked about with anybody, so that's why I'm focused on this. How you say that the heart is what brings the emotion to people, whereas I was saying that it's the brain. But you bring up a good argument that I now want to dive deeper into. And if you're watching this and you know more about it, please leave it in the comment section or come on the show if you have more information about this. Because you raised a point. If somebody has a heart transplant and they start taking on the person whose heart it was, characteristics or behaviors or emotions, that's really interesting. I've never thought of that, and I've never heard of that. So that's why I'm focused on this. And if you're saying you don't know more about this, then all right, we'll move on. But if you do, please share it with me in the audience.
Well, no, that's I've got so much information in my head. Getting these files to follow each other is difficult sometimes.
Don't worry, we got time. Nobody's rushing.
Now, can we get into the spell casting?
Sure, but boy, did you just tease me in the audience with that whole heart and emotion thing.
Well, it's something that you really gotta, like, when I get all choked up, I feel it coming from my heart, and I get this lump in my throat.
Okay.
And the times that, if I don't get a lump in my throat, I'm working right through my brain, and I'm not really using my emotions too much. Because I find when I start using my emotions, I choke up quite a bit. I'm a very sensitive person. There's a lot of things that kind of make me choke up.
Okay.
But yet I'm a calloused old bastard, and some people would say, oh, he doesn't have a feeling in his heart. So depends on what I have to feel.
Well, thank you for opening up a new perspective, because like I said, I really thought that the emotions and the critical thinking and all that stuff comes from the brain. But you've opened up again, this show is opening your mind.
Right.
And so I'm open to that, and I thank you for opening that perspective. Let's get back to spell casting, because for me, I'm under the impression that spell casting has to do with, again, the Jews going away from the oral translation and passing on to the written, which is supposedly evil. It's not supposed to be written down. Is that true? Am I wrong about that, or what's going on?
Right. Writing is spellcasting. Now, of course, when I say that, I will guarantee that everybody out there, now this is what I'm going to say, everybody out there, when I said spellcasting, where did your mind go?
Witches.
Hey?
Witches and the occult.
Thank you. Witches, warlocks, cauldrons, hats, all that. That's a spell cast. They made you believe that spell casting is some witch thing. No, spell casting is the Jews' way of changing the minds of mankind from really seeing, I don't know how to get you back up here. I've got your video, but I don't see me.
That's all right. I could see you, and we're recording you, so that's fine. And you look great. But from my understanding is they created all these different languages, and they keep the written word down so that future generations can be as confused as the person who wrote all that stuff down wanted them to be.
Yeah, you take the Jew, and when they rewrite their Bible, their Torah, they discard the old Torah. How convenient, eh?
Yeah.
Now, so I can't go to the old Torah to see if they fucked up because they threw it in the garbage, right? Oh no, we go line by line, word for word. It's all, I don't give a shit what you do. You can try to blow smoke up my ass all you want, but I don't believe you. If you're going to discard something that you took it from, throw it in the garbage so nobody else can see it, then you've got to worry about what's really being done here, right? Are those words that they rewrote the same words that were in the one before? Or did they change something? Okay.
Now, again, that's the argument that people, when they're arguing with Dustin Nemos, make, is that he's going by which version of the Bible, but Dustin says that he goes back to the earliest written versions, and that's his argument.
Right. Well, that's fine. I'm going to present something that I want him to look at, and then he could either come away with understanding it or just ignoring it because he wants to make a shekel on what he writes. Okay, now he mentions the Book of Enoch quite often. And like I said, the Book of Enoch does not verify the Bible. Actually, the Book of Enoch is a setup for the Jews in their religion. If anybody sits down and reads the whole freaking book and listens to everything that's said. Now, I just ask anybody out there, when you're reading something, if you're led to believe that this whole book is blah, blah, once you start getting into problems and things that contradict, how many of those contradictions and problems are you willing to see before you say, hey, if in doubt, throw it out? Okay. Now, let's go to the Book of Enoch, and I have watched hundreds and hundreds of hours of people talking about the Book of Enoch, giving their opinions, this, that, and the other. But this has never been brought up in all those times. And I thought to myself, isn't that interesting that these words are never brought up by all these scholars that think the Book of Enoch has something, but they never see this. And this, what I'm about to read, will nullify every fucking book that is written in one paragraph. Okay? So the trick of the Jews is that, or the devil, God, the trick is that they will put things in, truths within the lies, but they're very small and kind of hidden. And if you don't read the whole damn thing and keep your mind on what you're reading, you will miss it. And I'm saying that because I missed it 3 times before I caught it. Right? So anyways, I'm going to talk to you about 5 watchers. Okay, now these watchers are the chief watchers. Okay, a chief means general, right? Or admiral, or Baal, Lord. So it's just a designation. It's not a person's thing, right? So anyways, we'll go into chapter 69 of the Book of Enoch. And I'm not going to get through the whole chapter. I'm just going to highlight a few things. You guys can read it yourselves. It says about these chief watchers. The third was named Gadriel. It is he who showed the children of men all the smitings of death. And he led astray Hawa, who is Eve, and showed the shield and the coat of mail and the swords for battle and all the weapons of death to the children of men. And from his hand they have proceeded against those who dwell on the earth from that day and for eternity. Okay, so that's Gadriel. That is the God of the Bible. That is his name. It's not a designation. It's literally his name. Just as you say Dan IL, Mike IL, whatever, you shorten it up, it's Mike, it's Dan, it's God. Okay. Now, I'm going to destroy books in a quick second here. Are we going to believe what is written? If I'm going to take some of this and say, this is real, then I got to believe that everything in this book is real, or otherwise what is real and what isn't. We're either going to go with it or not go with it, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now the fourth one, his name was Penemuel. Okay. He taught the children of men the bitter and the sweet, and he taught them all the secrets of their wisdom. And he instructed mankind in writing with ink and paper, and thereby many sinned from everlasting to everlasting until this day. For men were not created for such a purpose, to give confirmation to their good belief with pen and ink. For men were created exactly like the messengers, to the intent that they should continue pure and righteous, and death, which destroys all matters, could not have taken hold of them. But through their knowledge, they are perishing, and through this power, it is consuming me. So it says, man was not supposed to write their good beliefs upon paper with ink. What is the Bible? It's beliefs, man's convictions and beliefs. What is the Quran? Man's convictions and beliefs. What is the Hindu? Man's convictions and beliefs. Shiva, Brahma, Vishnu. Where, let's just keep going on and on and on. They're all written books by people's ideals. But you can't prove it, right? Can you prove it? I want verification on things. If I don't get verified, it's possibility or junk. Anything you'd like to add?
Yes. So what's your point?
Well, my point is that if you read this and you're saying that the prior stuff is real and true, then you have to take this as real and true. And this very one statement that says man was not supposed to write their good beliefs with pen and ink, well, just because they did doesn't make it right today. It's still in effect, as it was back then, that you don't write your convictions and beliefs upon paper with ink. Now, the reason I'm saying this is because everybody comes up with grand ideas and writes them down. We've got evolution, we've got reincarnation, we've got, like I said, Vishnu, Brahma, Shiva, we got the Hindu religion, the Buddhist religion, we got the Quran, and all these are different people that are supposedly writing down their ideals and what they experienced and they think. That's fine. And I will accept it as a possibility, but unless you can verify it to me, I'm not going to believe it. I'm not
Let me express to you what I'm taking away from this. I'm thinking what that means is that we were created with such a higher level of consciousness and understanding and ability that we should be able to communicate quite literally without words even, just telepathically and consciously. So that if there is a story of our history, we should be able to pass that along to future generations through word so that it stays within the computer that we have as the brain and then is passed on through generations rather than the manipulation and the corruption that happens when you put it down in writing. And then the brain becomes so lazy that they take what some person who could have been a con artist, or in this case, a Jew who wants to spread lies to circumvent the non-Jews, into believing, like right now in school, they're teaching children that men can get pregnant. Just because it says it in a book and is written down doesn't mean that really happened. And the same thing with those people who are like, oh, Hitler wasn't as bad as they claimed. If you read about it, Hitler was like the worst thing since farts in a fucking shit factory, you know? But apparently Hitler was just trying to keep
Save the white race.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the way I take it. And the reason why I kind of understand it that way is because I'm surrounded by people who are Slavic, and they're telling me that they learned about Tartaria through their grandparents and great-grandparents, and it's on a map, but now in the new maps, it doesn't exist, and supposedly it's just a myth. But these people are like, wait a minute, I know that Tartaria existed because my great-grandparents told me about it, and they told them about it. They didn't write it down. So that's what I'm taking, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe that we have become, by design, dumbed down, like I said, to the point where these people are actually believing that, you know, I'm a quadruple CIA Mossad Jew, you know, just because somebody wrote it down or something like that. But that doesn't make it true. So, and we do have that ability to communicate telepathically. I don't know if you're noticing, but more and more people are starting to get that kind of a consciousness. Even just having you back on the show, I was thinking of you, and then you reached out to me in an email, and you're back on the show. And it was interesting. You were like, "Wow, you must really be desperate to have me back on the show." And that's not the case at all. It's just that I was thinking about you because I've had Dustin Nemos and Flat Earth Dave on my show, and a lot of the things that you said in your first appearance on this show have now come back to start making more sense to me. So, and then you reached out to me, which was interesting, you know? So we communicated telepathically, I think.
I have to say goodbye to my younger brother. Could you give me 2 seconds, please?
Well, I'll give you more than that. What we'll do is we'll take a break. This is the maverick artist Victor Hugo reporting modern art, concert journalism for the modern art music movement. I'm joined by Alan Main. We will be right back after this brief break.